Hi everyone, this is Rasirama Krishnan again, and I'm super excited to be hosting our second Founder Spotlight with Shreya. And she is actually a student entrepreneur, which I think is super impressive. Of course, this episode is going to be all about her. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Shreya. Just talk a little bit more about your experience as a student and an entrepreneur, and also how you started your business and what it's about.
Hi, I'm Shreya Talwar, and I'm the founder of So Sweet Dessert Emporium. And I actually started my business in sixth grade. So 2019, it was a while ago. And just being a student and entrepreneur, it's been hard, but it's been super fun. I think just going into high school with a business already was super cool experience. There were so many people that knew me through my business and through my brand. So that's just thought was so cool. Like I'm going to high school as a freshman and I have these juniors and seniors being like, "Hey, you're that girl that bakes, right?"
That's super cool. Honestly, I had a similar experience. I started working with companies since seventh grade. I started my business too as a seventh grader, but sixth grade is impressive. I think COVID really played a big role in people just coming up with new ideas and projects. Would you say COVID was really what kickstarted your brand more? Like, you had more time on your hands. You were like, okay, let's bake. That was how it was for me. So I'm just curious to know if it was the same for you.
So I've been baking since I was like really, really young. So I actually have nut allergies. So I have never in my life been able to go to a bakery. So I think it's just a thing where my mom never wanted me to feel left out. So I would just grew up baking with her, like learning to bake any I want. And so then I had wanted to start a business like fifth grade. Like baking not happening. Like I am not cleaning up the kitchen. This is going to be a disaster. And it just took me a full year to really convince her that I could handle it. And then after that, I kind of started slow, but COVID is when it really took off because people were looking for places in their area.
I actually love that a lot because I also have nut allergies, so I get it. I totally do. And I remember I used to be allergic to eggs, so I remember every time I'd go to a birthday party, I my mom would have to take me home before getting the cake because I'd start crying because I'd want to eat it. And so I totally feel you there. I think that is such a unique avenue and, finding that specific niche of people and that too with COVID, like, people are really trying to find cakes, but they don't want to go out to a bakery. I think that's amazing. And so when you were in sixth grade, I guess what prompted you to actually turn it into something? Because I know a lot of people, they're just like, okay, I'm just baking as a side thing. But what really caused you to want to become an entrepreneur in that moment?
Um, I want to say I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I had one teacher in I think third or fourth grade, and she had a jewelry business. And I absolutely looked up to this teacher. Her name was Miss Brani. I loved her. And so I'm like, she has a business. I want to do that. So I think that's what really prompted me to start a business.
That is so cool. No, that's actually amazing. I love that so much. That's so wholesome. Looking up to a little teacher as a little kid. That's so cute. That's amazing, honestly. And now, so you're going to be a junior, so that's been like 5 years of the business. I guess what would you say has been some of your biggest accomplishments throughout those past 5 years? Not even on a numerical standpoint, like financials, but also you as a person. Like, what have you really seen growing it within yourself?
I want to say there's like two. So financially, this is something that's like my favorite thing I've ever done. It was my first Christmas season. And you know how bakeries just have like seasonal menus often? So this was my first time putting together like an actual seasonal menu. And that Christmas, I think in 1 week, I made over $1,000. And this is
Wow.
me, a seventh grader. I was so proud of myself.
That is so crazy. Oh my gosh, $1,000 in seventh grader. That's like you're rich at that point. Like, say goodbye, you won the lottery. That's incredible. Wow, I love that a lot. And so did that start off as, your parents kind of were like, hey, my daughter's having a bakery, and then your network expanded from there? Or what were some of your marketing techniques, at that age? It must be insane to be making that kind of money.
So I had a Facebook page and I had my Instagram. And the thing that really like kicked week is hot cocoa bombs were like the thing by Christmas. And I think this was like before like Costco and all the big like retailers were selling them. So I usually keep my prices a little bit lower than most home bakeries. And I had hot cocoa bombs and I was doing regular ones and I was doing mini ones. And I don't think anyone else that time was doing mini ones. So I had over 200 orders for hot cocoa bombs. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, hot cocoa bombs were the thing. You're so right. I feel like every year we make it a point to at least have it one time because those are absolutely amazing. And I think it's really cool that you decided to come up with a mini one. Was that just like personal experience? You felt like the chocolate was too overwhelming, or was that just, you just assumed a lot of people would enjoy that?
So I had been experimenting with the big ones, and the company had just sent me molds for the mini ones as well. So I'm like, okay, extra chocolate, I'll try these. And so my younger brother loved those. So I'm like, well, if he likes it, I'll probably find at least a couple other people that do. So I ended up selling them both just like off a whim.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's actually really cool. It kind of reminds me of, how I think it was gum. Gum was made by mistake. And so like you fully did not expect it to become a hit, but then it did. And so I really love that a lot. Oh, that's so cute that your little brother tests it too. I feel like if that was, my sister, she's a big baker too. If she had a business, I'd be her first customer. Like everything is going to her. Would you say that your family has been a big role in, your successes? Like, what was the role that your family or external people have played? Like, do you have any specific mentors that you would say have guided you?
So my dad and my brother will forever be my taste testers, but I think my mom has really been my mentor. Um, She's been baking since forever. My grandmother baked her birthday cakes, and my mom just kept that tradition going. So she's always made every single one of my birthday cakes. And there's pictures of me being like 2 or 3 years old, just like sitting on the counter mixing batter with her. So I think even when I started my business, she was always my biggest supporter. If I need someone at 1 a.m. to look at this cake and tell me like, does it look right? Does this what I needed to do? She's gonna be the one awake with me.
I love that. That's so sweet. It's kind of, a family experience. I feel like that sounds like so much fun, especially, your dad and brother, they get to taste test from your grandma, your mom, and you. Oh my gosh, the amount of sugar in that house, I can't even imagine. I'm so jealous. But that's really amazing. I like how supportive your mom is, and I think it's really nice to have that personal element because I feel like in a lot of businesses I've seen, a lot of times like having that personal motivation is what really sets it forward because, say people want to bake for the money. It's like, okay, you don't have that personal element in there, that humanistic perspective that makes a lot of customers want to come to you. And so I think it's really cool that you have that personal narrative to really talk about. And that too, being a high school student and starting it. And I know you're going into your junior year, and that happens to be like the wrath of high school. I can tell you from experience, I just finished, so good luck. But I'm just curious to know, how was that time management? Because you were saying you were up at like 1 a.m., baking all these things. So how did you manage your time being a student, being in clubs and doing your baking business?
It's just a lot of late nights. And just the fact that like I've had to put it together in my brain that like, okay, I'm gonna mix the batter if the cake is in the oven. I'm studying for the SAT. And then while the cake is cooling, I'm gonna do my homework. It's just being able to put together a timeline in my head before I start whatever I'm doing, everything is still getting done without me having to be up all night.
Actually, I think that's kind of cool because it kind of sets you a mental break. So, if your cake is baking for 12 minutes, you have 12 minutes of work and then you know what I mean? It's like a set time. I think that sounds really fun, actually. Maybe I might try that because I know people have done like, they study till the ice melts, and I feel like that's what that reminds me of, is studying until the cake bakes. And that's really cool. Yeah, that's honestly really admirable because I can tell you the time management is like the hardest thing to nail down, being a student, being in any field, not even just business. So that's honestly really amazing. And do you plan to continue this business long term, like post college, as an adult?
Honestly, I don't know if I plan to continue it past high school just because depending on where I go to college, it's kind of hard to find a whole new community, but I'm definitely continuing it through my senior year.
No, that's completely valid, especially because, I mean, in your first year of college, you might not even have a kitchen in your room, so having to bake would be a whole hassle. But I think it's really great that you at least had that experience as a high schooler, being able to do all of these incredible things and create that community. I think that's something that's super, super amazing. And I guess another question that I would really have is like, how has being a founder changed you personally? Like, not just, on a professional standpoint, but, as a person, what are some things that you've just learned?
I think as a person, I've kind of just learned what it means to communicate with people clearly. With a business, obviously, you're going to get the super nice customers and you're going to get the customers that are super hard to deal with. So just learning how to talk to all different types of people while still maintaining your cool is something that I've definitely gained from this.
That's very true, honestly. I've heard that a lot from a lot of people that work directly with people. The companies that I've worked with are not really, you're not really interacting with people. I've worked more in the tech space, so I haven't really had to deal with that. But I have a lot of friends that tutor or do similar endeavors like you, and they've had to say the same thing that customers are not going to be easy. I think that's the biggest part of being a business professional are those interpersonal skills that you really need to nail down. And it's probably taken you a lot of work and patience, to really be able to manage that. But that is admirable. That is talent. It takes a lot. And I remember you also saying that the molds that you like bought molds from a vendor. So I'm kind of curious to know just how the process works as a larger scale baking company. Because I know a lot of home baking companies, they just kind of use the ingredients at home, but how do the vendors play a role in your company?
So it took me a while, but I usually buy from like online wholesale companies and they'll do everything. They do ingredients, they do molds, and it's really great. I want to say the one I use is called the Web Restaurant Store. They're awesome. You can buy basically everything from there.
Oh wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that they sold it like that. Like you could just get all the ingredients in one place. You don't have to go grocery shopping. That's so convenient. I love that a lot. And I think that must make it a lot easier. And then also, is it super expensive? Like, would you say it was difficult starting off in terms of capital? Like, what is the role that capital has really played in your journey?
So starting off, it was kind of like my mom had a bunch of baking stuff and she's like, you know what, you can use it. So I started off with a lot of that stuff. And obviously, for ingredients, that was me borrowing some money from my parents that I had to give back to them later. But overall, I think it didn't take me a lot of capital to start. So I think that was where I kind of got some luck.
No, that's very true. I think your parents kind of invested in you. They're your investors. So that's really great that you had them as that support system, at least starting off. And then now you're able to go on and do all these things by yourself. That's super incredible. I think honestly, those are all the biggest questions I had for you. I'm super impressed by your work. Remind me, I'll probably end up buying something from you because I have a family full of sweet tooths. So maybe I'll buy something soon from you one day. But yeah, I'm super impressed by you and your work. And it was really great getting to meet you for the first time, getting to know you. And best of luck with everything that you do.
Thank you. I love talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.